Imagine a book so powerful, it can strip away the chaos of modern life and hand you the key to unshakable peace in just one verse. I'm talking about the Dhammapada, the heartbeat of Buddhist wisdom, a text that's been my anchor for over 50 years. As a senior who's walked the path of the Buddha's teachings through life's storms, I've seen its magic firsthand, and I'm here to share why this ancient gem isn't just for monks in robes, but for you right now wrestling with today's stress in London, New York, or anywhere else. Let me pull you deeper with a question. Have you ever felt like no matter how much you chase success, money, status, love, there's still a gnawing emptiness inside? That's where the Dhammapada cuts through. It's not just a book, it's a mirror showing you the battles worth fighting, the ones within. I remember a friend in Chicago, a high-flying lawyer who hit rock bottom during a messy divorce in 2015. He was drowning in anger, couldn't sleep, popping pills just to get through the day. I handed him my worn copy of the Dhammapada, pointing to a single verse. Hatred is never appeased by hatred in this world. By non-hatred alone is hatred appeased. He read it, scoffed at first, but later told me how he sat with those words for hours, letting go of his rage bit by bit. Within weeks, he was meditating daily, rebuilding his life, not from the outside but from the core. That's the kind of raw, practical power we're unpacking today. Stick with me. Let's dive into what makes this text a lifeline for anyone, Buddhist or not, across Europe and America. First, let's ground ourselves in what the Dhammapada really is. Picture a small book, no thicker than a deck of cards, yet packed with 423 verses across 26 chapters, each a distilled drop of wisdom from the Buddha himself, spoken over 2,500 years ago in ancient India. Unlike the Bible or Quran, which often weave narratives, the Dhammapada is pure essence. Direct teachings on everything from taming anger to finding joy, from dodging greed to embracing death with grace. It's like a spiritual Swiss Army knife, a tool for every mess life throws at you. Historically, it's part of the Pali Canon, the earliest recorded teachings of Buddhism, compiled by monks who memorized the Buddha's words after his passing. Scholars estimate it was written down around the 1st century BCE, but its oral roots trace back to the 5th century BCE, straight from the Buddha's lips in Magadha, a region buzzing with seekers back then. Why does it matter to you though? Because its lessons aren't locked in some distant monastery, they're alive, universal, cutting through cultural lines whether you're in Berlin or Boston. Take the chapter on the mind. It starts with, the mind is wavering and restless, difficult to guard and restrain. Sound familiar? Think of the last time your phone buzzed with a work email at midnight, and suddenly you're spiraling into anxiety over a deadline. The Dhammapada doesn't just name the problem, it gives the fix. Like a Fletcher straightens an arrow, the wise straighten their wavering mind. That's a call to discipline, to craft your thoughts with intention, just as an archer perfects his tool. I've seen this work in real life. Back in the 90s, I mentored a young woman from Manchester, a single mom juggling 2 jobs. She was a bundle of nerves, always second-guessing herself. We sat down one rainy afternoon in a quiet cafe, and I walked her through this verse. Together we broke it down, how her mind was jumping between fears of bills and her kids' futures. I told her to picture herself as that Fletcher, slowly straightening one thought at a time through deep breaths and small, deliberate choices, like saying no to overtime when she was burned out. Over months, she built a mental clarity that let her save enough to move to a better flat. That's not mysticism, it's a blueprint for sanity. But it's not just personal grit. The Dhammapada also rewires how you see wealth and success, something I know many of you in the West wrestle with. In America especially, the hustle culture's relentless. Grind harder, earn more, buy bigger. Yet, a 2021 Gallup poll showed 60% of Americans feel stressed about finances, even those earning 6 figures. The Dhammapada flips this obsession on its head in the chapter on happiness. saying, "Let us live happily then, though we call nothing our own." It's not anti-wealth, it's anti-attachment. I learned this the hard way in my own life. In the 70s, I was obsessed with building a nest egg, working long hours as a small business owner in a quiet European town. I had the house, the car, but I was miserable, snapping at my family, barely sleeping. One night, flipping through the Dhammapada, I stumbled on that verse. It hit like a brick. I started asking, why am I killing myself for stuff I won't take to the grave? Slowly, I shifted, kept earning but gave more away, spent time with loved ones, found joy in simplicity like a morning walk by the river. My bank account didn't shrink, but my heart grew. That's the wealth the Buddha points to, not hoarding but living free from craving's grip. For you, maybe it's not about quitting your job, but rethinking why you chase that next bonus. Does it own you or do you own it? Now, let's push this further with a curveball. What if the Dhammapada's toughest lesson isn't about peace or happiness, but about facing your own darkness head-on? I'm talking about the raw, unflinching truth in verses like, "Though one may conquer 1,000 times 1,000 men in battle, yet he indeed is the noblest victor who conquers himself." This isn't fluffy self-help. It's a gut punch. Self-conquest is the real war, harder than any boardroom fight or social media clash. Think about the rise of mental health struggles in the West. NHS data from 2022 shows 1 in 6 adults in the UK battling anxiety or depression. We're drowning in external winds but losing the internal fight. I saw this starkly with a young man I met at a Buddhist retreat in California a decade ago. He was a tech whiz, barely 30, with a startup worth millions, but he confessed to me over tea that he'd wake up hating himself, haunted by imposter syndrome, addicted to validation from likes and retweets. I pointed him to this verse, and we unpacked it together under a sprawling oak tree, the Pacific breeze cooling us down. Conquering himself meant facing why he needed constant approval, digging into childhood wounds of feeling unseen by his parents. It wasn't instant, but over a year he used the Dhammapada's call to self-mastery as a guide, cutting social media, seeking therapy, and meditating on his triggers. Last I heard, he sold his startup, not for more money but to live slower, truer to himself. That's the battle the Buddha's talking about, and it's one you might be fighting without even naming it. Let's build to the heart of this now, the ultimate lesson that ties it all together. The Dhammapada isn't just about fixing yourself. It's about realizing you're enough, right as you are, if you can master your mind and let go of what drags you down. Dive into verse 104 to 105. Self-conquest is far better than the conquest of others. Not even a god, an angel, Mara, or Brahma can turn into defeat the victory of a person who is self-subdued and ever restrained in conduct. This is the climax of the Buddha's wisdom. Your greatest enemy and greatest ally is you. No external force, no devil, no circumstance can undo the triumph of a disciplined heart. Let me paint a picture with a story that still shakes me. In 2008, I met a woman at a meditation center in rural France, a cancer survivor from Bristol. She'd lost her husband to the same disease just 2 years prior, and her body was frail, her spirit battered. Chemotherapy had left her bald, weak, barely able to walk without a cane. Yet, she showed up every dawn for meditation, clutching her tattered Dhammapada. One evening, as we sat by a flickering fire, she shared how verse 104 became her lifeline. Conquering others? She chuckled bitterly. I couldn't even conquer my own body breaking down. But this verse told me I could still win, by not letting despair take me. She described nights of unbearable pain, her mind screaming to give up, imagining her kids growing up without her. But she'd recite this verse like a mantra, focusing on restraining her fear, choosing to breathe through the panic, to smile at her children even when she felt hollow. She rebuilt her will, not her body, and found a peace that outlasted her prognosis. she's still alive today, defying odds, running a small support group for others. That's self-conquest, not winning over cancer, but over the despair it breeds. Now let's zoom out. The Dhammapada's data-backed relevance isn't just anecdotal. A 2019 study from the University of California, Berkeley, found mindfulness practices rooted in Buddhist texts like this one reduce cortisol levels, stress hormones, by up to 30% in just 8 weeks. Imagine applying that to your daily grind, whether you're a student cramming for exams in Dublin or a parent juggling Zoom calls and tantrums in Seattle. The text chapter on loving kindness offers a direct tool. Just as a mother would protect her only child with her life, even so let one cultivate a boundless love towards all beings. This isn't abstract, it's a mental reset. I've watched a New York cab driver, a gruff guy who cursed out traffic daily, soften after practicing this for a month. He told me, laughing over coffee in a diner, how he started picturing every rude passenger as his own kid having a bad day. Road rage? Gone. His blood pressure dropped too, doctor confirmed. That's the Dhammapada rewiring not just minds but lives with precision and grit. Alright, let's ease up for a moment and get real with a lighter, heartfelt twist. There's this verse, 290, that always makes me smirk with its sneaky wisdom. If by renouncing a lesser happiness one may realize a greater happiness, then let the wise renounce the lesser. Sounds high and mighty, right? But let me tell you how it played out in my own stubborn life. Back in my 60s, I was glued to my evening ritual, glass of wine, cheesy TV dramas, zoning out after a long day. It was my happy place, or so I thought. But I was gaining weight, feeling sluggish, and honestly, a bit lonely staring at a screen. One day, flipping through the Dhammapada in my cozy armchair, that verse slapped me awake. Lesser happiness? My wine and reruns. Greater happiness? Maybe joining that local Buddhist sangha I'd been dodging for years, scared I'd be the oldest guy there. I took the plunge, ditched the remote one night, and showed up to a meditation circle in a drafty community hall. First session, I'm fumbling through chants, knees aching on the cushion, feeling like a fool. But then, over tea after, a young woman, tattoos up her arm, couldn't have been over 25, grins and says, "Hey granddad, you've got stories I want to hear." That cracked me open. I started going weekly, trading my solitary bliss for real connection. Now those folks are family, birthdays, potlucks, even helped me fix my leaky roof last spring. I'm fitter, sharper, laughing more at 75 than I did at 50. Renouncing the small stuff for the big win? It's not sacrifice, it's trading up. What lesser happiness are you clinging to, my friend? That late night scroll? That grudge? Chew on this verse and see what greater joy's waiting if you let go. So, here we are, at the end of this journey through the Dhammapada's timeless power. This isn't just a book. It's a roadmap to mastering yourself, finding peace, and redefining wealth as freedom, not stuff. Whether you're wrestling with stress in a Paris flat or seeking meaning in a Texas suburb, its 423 verses have a word for you. Grab a copy, any translation, online or at your local library, and let one page, one line shift your perspective. I've seen it save lives, mend hearts, and I know it can speak to yours. If this resonated, hit that like, subscribe, and stick with me. Your support keeps these stories flowing. And hey, drop a comment. Which Dhammapada lesson, self-conquest, letting go, or loving kindness, hits closest to home for you? I'm all ears.